Resident Evil 2.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Radio Podcast, episode 7. I'm, as always, your wonderful host, Brian. Sorry, co-host. I have two others there as well, who I will introduce as...
I guess we're leaving, Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
wow.
fine.
Okay, you guys can fuck off. That lovely voice you just heard there was the Starsky to my Hutch.
Oh, damn.
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 Oh, my.
And that other laugh you just heard is the Tango to my Cash, Kyle.
Sorry, just
He's blushing. I am blushing.
sorry.
Wow.
Well, anyway,
Gonna need a moment.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here for episode 7. We got a pretty good episode tonight. We are going to be talking about the Resident Evil 2 remake, which came out there 2 years ago. I can safely say it's one of our favorites.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm speaking for you now.
That's fine.
it's grand.
You are
I would allow it.
correct.
I would allow it.
Yeah, that's no problem. But so yeah, stick around. It's going to be an interesting chat. Hopefully not too long, right? Yeah,
We'll try. We'll try. We'll try.
But
We'll
of
do our
course,
best.
We will try to keep this under an hour and a half.
try. But of course, we have to start off every episode of the Radio Podcast by simply asking, Kieran, what are you drinking?
I am drinking, and I swear to Christ, I found this in it was my first year of college. We went down to Barcelona and we found this good, beautiful boy. Let's see if it focuses.
Estelle.
It's Estrella Galacia. But there's like, I think it's like one company or brewery that make Estrella, because they do Estrella Dam and Estrella Galacia and Ball Dam. Very good beer. Have you ever tried to get it? Like, I never would have thought like a Spanish beer of all beers would have been good. I've never really
like
had
Corona.
Spanish beer. That's
Corona's
Mexican.
nice.
Is Corona not Mexican?
It is Mexican.
Yeah, it's Mexican. But you expect the
Touché.
Mexicans to have good beer, man.
That's true, yeah.
True,
They do
yeah.
have good tequila.
But I've never had Spanish beer, and that was like the first time I had it, and it was absolutely gorgeous. It was like the only beer you could get over there, really, like besides Carlsberg. And who drinks Carlsberg?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a
drink Carlsberg?
what a stupid drink.
Idiots. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing tonight.
Alright.
What am I watching?
Oh yeah, we have to get into that. Actually,
yeah.
let me ask Kyle first. Kyle, what are you drinking? Even though I think we already know.
I am drinking Coca-Cola Zero. You didn't
Oh,
see
Coke Zero.
you didn't
Nice.
see anything before that.
You're trying to keep.
I am
Okay,
drinking
try to keep that
Carlsberg,
traffic.
bitches. And
on sale?
according to the label, it is probably the best beer in the world. And fun fact about that, they originally advertised as being the best beer in the world. I'm pretty sure they got sued and had to change it.
Yeah. I mean, you're wrong on both counts, so.
That, like, the funny thing is,
hilarious.
I studied that in college, of like, you know, advertisements where they have to be very particular in which way they state their ads. And I'm pretty sure one of the only companies that still does it to this day is Toyota, is like best car in the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. No.
So
Best
I
car.
think I think that you have to, like, I can imagine it's like something has to be, you have to win a certain amount of awards or something like that to be like, well, we have all these awards to say
Maybe,
we are the
yeah.
best car of that year, kind of thing.
That's true. I mean, they can
But
back
it's
it up.
if you have to be very particular to what you say in media, or else you will get sued, because you could have a hick making bathtub wine and he'll be like,
Best wine in the world.
well, you said that was the best beer in the world, but my bat wine beer, that's better than yours.
Absolutely no offense to
I'm
anybody
suing
from
ya.
Start that is listening to us right now, which is nobody, but still.
Hey, well, little knowledge bomb. Most of the people over there actually originally were Scottish and Irish, and that's actually where moonshine comes from. It was
Yep.
the whiskey tradition brought over there
From
and
the north.
because, yeah, from the north and from Scotland. But the only grains they could have over there were like rye and stuff. They didn't
Corn.
really have malts and barley over there yet, so they used to make rye moonshine. That's where that came from.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
And for myself, I'm just drinking a nice bog standard red wine here. It's Dada, or
Oh yeah.
it has fought over its name, so again, it's
Daw,
probably pronounced
da.
something different. Daw or something like that.
Is
but,
it one father over one A or both of them?
one fada over one A? It's the last A. So
And it's like, oh, it's a lat. So it's
Da-da.
yeah.
Dada.
Da-da.
Dada.
Yeah, so. But Kieran, you already hinted at it because we have our next on-ring segment of what are you playing, what are you watching. So I'm going to start with Kyle on this one. Kyle, what are you watching? What are you playing?
I've started watching season 4 of Attack on Titans.
Ooh.
And it is pretty good. I like
It
it.
is
Although the
pretty
art
good.
style makes me want to throw up repeatedly. It is disgusting, offensive, and borderline war crimes. Other than that, really, really good. Really liking it. Can't really give anything away about it because obviously that'll be a future thing we talk about. But in terms of if I'm playing anything, I don't think I am playing anything other than what I had previously mentioned about. Not really, to be honest. It's been busy, so I haven't really had a chance to play much. I think I started playing a little bit of Nier again, just because I'm so pretty. So Nier Automata, whatever way you want to pronounce that second part of that title, I don't know. Fantastic
Automata?
game.
Oh,
Automata, I don't know. All I know is it's
Near Automata.
Yeah,
yeah, I used to say automata, then people started saying automata. I'm like,
yeah, because automatons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's why they kind of get the automata. But I would have said automata as well. So maybe
I
we're
don't know.
just
it's
I don't know.
a fantastic game.
Deserves its own
Soundtrack
episode
is
eventually.
beautiful. Oh, soundtrack is out of this world beautiful. Graphics are great. Combat is amazing. Storyline is phenomenal. He's going to wreck your head. And it's a really good story of like in terms of just how where the game come from as well, because that was not a particularly popular franchise. Even I got the chance to actually talk very briefly to the voice actor for 2B in Comic-Con in Dublin, which was awesome. And she didn't even think that when she took the job, it wasn't seen as a particularly high profile gig. It was only after it exploded, and she was kind of like, "Oh shit, people kind of now know me. This is weird.
I'm famous now?
Yeah,
What?
she was very. There was actually was there. It was the first Comic-Con she'd ever been to,
That's
which was really cool. She
cool.
was super nice. She signed something for me. It was great. But yeah, fantastic game. So worth playing. Absolutely brilliant.
Kieran, what have you been watching and or playing?
watching. I'm on like the last season of How I Met Your Mother from like the last time. I've been binge watching the crap out of that. And then
Christ.
Falcon the Winter Soldier as well. I won't get too much into that now. It's episode 3 when we're recording this. Episode 3 was the last episode I saw. That was actually a pretty good episode. It was
good.
very enjoyable. Yeah,
I like that episode.
yeah. It's starting to kick off. I think a little.
It's
And-
because we got Baron Zemo back, and he's just a
Yeah.
great character.
Oh, stop! And bringing Sharon back. Sharon was amazing in
Carter?
that episode. Absolutely
yeah.
brilliant. I'm so glad they brought her back. I think she did a great job.
Yeah.
I am playing of all games because I got it in beta and I didn't really like it. Is Outriders, and I remember I got it in beta and I told you guys that it was. It's oh god, how do I describe Outrider? Outriders is essentially Gears of War meets Anthem meets Division. So it's essentially just one of those, the next in line of the online games where you can jump in with friends, you can play it by yourself, and there's a nice story mode, and I can only imagine.
Even though I heard that they're not marketing it as a live action or a live service game like Destiny or Anthem or The Division, they're not marketing like that. They're saying it's not going to be like that.
Yeah,
But
because
everything I look about it, it looks very much like that.
yeah, I think it's along the lines of, if you want to play, do you know the way you can play the Division and you can just jump in and play missions by yourself? It's not open world. Division is open world, the Outriders isn't. But like if you want to matchmake with people, you can just jump into the matchmaking, you can go and do missions and stuff like that and work away with them. Absolutely fine. I don't know if they do like the whole end game thing of like raids and strongholds the way like Anthem would. It's my only issue with it is, and I'm enjoying it. It's fun. The story's grand. It's nothing special, but like the combat is enjoyable and the powers you get is enjoyable. But I find it very clunky. and not Gears of War clunky, because when you played Gears of War, you felt like you were a big man just going around.
That was intentional.
Yeah, it's like it was intentionally made like that, and it was enjoyable. In Outriders, it feels like I'm playing a PS3 shoot 'em game, because do you know the way like in the old days where we didn't quite get the whole shooting yet, where like if you wanted to aim, you had to go like across and up, and then across and up, and it wasn't quite as fluid as just going directly diagonal in the same way that like, you know, modern shooters like COD would be. Or even like Anthem had a fluid, you know, even though it was over the shoulder, it was very fluid. Same with the likes of Resident Evil that we're going to talk about, Resident Evil 2, where I had that fluid over the shoulder shooting.
I don't know if I'd ever call that fluid, but go on.
Yeah, but it's a lot easier than like
It was notoriously stagnant. I mean, like you
Resident
do have
Evil
to
2 is not.
You do have to stop to
No,
aim
that's Resident
and
Evil
shoot.
4. Resident Evil 2, you can move while you shoot.
Does it not follow the similar pattern? You can't really move all that much.
No, you can move.
You can move, but you're less accurate when you move.
Yeah.
So it does. It's again, it's a
reduces
good
the
game. It's a
accuracy.
design.
Yeah, I
thing
think
where you're
yeah.
like, you can move now,
Yeah.
but you're going to be less accurate.
But I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. It's an introduction of like, you have a plus, but you have your perk, but here's the buff kind of thing. Look, Outriders is fun. It's nothing special. It's good for what it is, but I just find it to be very clunky. And for a game that's made in like 2021, well, released in 2021, it just feels like a clunky PS3 game. It's not as bad as what the beta was, but it's still fairly clunky. But I can still enjoy it quite a lot. And like, if you ever get the chance to, like, I think if you guys have like Game Pass and stuff like that, you can download it, so you can jump on that and kind of try it out. Like, I'm enjoying it enough, but I wouldn't buy it. Like,
Yeah. The one review I did, not the one, I've seen a few reviews of it, but the main one that stood out to me, it was Outriders is Division, or is Anthem 2.0. I'm like, ooh.
yeah.
Ooh,
God,
is that a good thing? I kid. I don't hate on Anthem. Anthem is a very
You
good
always
game.
hate on
You
Anthem.
hate on Anthem.
You're always hating on Anthem.
because
You
like,
Destiny 2 bitch.
Yeah, because as from someone from the Destiny universe, when I had to listen to years of Anthem's going to destroy Destiny, I'm like, well, look where Destiny is now, huh? Doing better than ever.
This is coming from the same fella that every so often would go through a phase of, yeah, just like Destiny's like really just dying right now, and it's kind of, I just want to get away from it. Yes, you have.
I have never once said it's dying. I said it's in a lull moment. I'm taking a break. I've never said it's dying. If anything else, it's thriving more than anything.
Oh
But
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. Like they
Yeah.
put their heart and soul into Destiny, and fair play to Bungie. Like, Destiny is an amazing game. Like, I'm not going to say it's not.
Can't wait
Literally
for the
all
three of
they
us to play
have
it again.
as well.
Yeah.
Can't wait for us to play it again. It's gonna be great.
Oh, when it comes crossplay,
yeah.
I'm definitely going to jump in with you guys.
Cannot
Oh
wait.
yeah, I think I'd be more interested in playing it if I could play it on my PC as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you can now, anyway.
Yeah, but not
There's just no crossplay.
But exactly.
Crossplay is coming later this year. But anyway.
If I could cross-play it and play it on my PC, I'd be much more happy
Yeah,
to do
Which
so.
you will be in all
Autumn, I think.
Yeah, I think they said the target in July.
Isn't there like so many expansions that I have to get, and it's like all these stories will crop up in
best
my
thing ab-
face, and it's like, oh, I
best thing
don't want
about
to
it
do
now
those stupid stories. They're so
That's
cringe.
grand, man, because they just give them away for free once they release the next few ones anyway.
Yeah, but like they'll
Pretty
still
much.
be there when I like
And
start the game.
even if you only want to test the waters and play a one season, you play at €10, you get 4 months worth of content, which is
too much, man.
awesome.
That's too
€10.
much money.
God, how cheap are you?
Very cheap.
I've noticed. Look at those bed sheets. Ugh, I bet they're not even Egyptian.
This is like 100% cotton, bitch.
That's Egyptian. That's
Egyptian threaded
silk,
cotton.
like about.
Also, for anyone watching,
They reopened the Silk Road for this.
reopen. For anyone watching, by the way, or even if you're listening, we are recording this on Easter Monday. So yes, we are all eating Easter eggs.
We're not
As
all
we
eating
record.
Easter eggs.
Oh, someone's not loved enough to be got Easter eggs. I know. Yeah.
No,
No, because
I
he
just
ate them all beforehand. The monster who eats his Easter eggs before Easter. Yeah,
How
that's
dare you.
him. I mean, like, get some fucking self-control, man.
I am
That's
sorry.
some
So sorry.
As for myself, I'm not watching anything apart from Falcon and the
Yes,
Winter Soldier.
I'm so sorry, Brian. What are you watching and what are you playing?
Thank you, Kieran. I'm not playing much, or not watching much. Just Falcon and the Winter Soldier, really, and I've watched a few movies on Netflix and Kong versus Godzilla.
Oh, that good?
Yeah, Godzilla versus Kong. It is.
Fine.
It is Kong versus Godzilla. I
It
mean,
is-
like,
yeah, you put it this
it's
way,
not
you
going to
get what
get
you
much
pay for.
nominated.
Yeah,
It's not going to
yeah.
get much
I'm
Oscar
not gonna say anything.
buzz for
It's
it.
like
It's
Pacific
only
Rim,
it's, on,
it's just like...
it's only out, so I won't say much. But you get what you pay for. It is
Do you actually
spectacular
see
looking.
Godzilla in this?
Yes, you do. There's lots
good.
of good fights between Kong and Godzilla.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, bogged down by way too many human characters who are stupid and genuinely make no sense as characters and are just there just to deliver a line of exposition, then they disappear. Oh wait, more fighting now. Okay, it's anyway. I won't say much.
Who are you? Who are you rooting for?
I was a Godzilla man. But in fairness, I will say Kong Skull Island is the best monster movie of the last few years. But and then as for what I'm playing, I'm doing this thing where I do it a lot when I'm kind of bored of games, where instead of just not playing anything, which would be the sensible thing to do, and go take up another hobby of like, what are you to read? You have a bookshelf over there of books. What do you read? No, I just bounce around different games.
Oh, for
I
like
always
10
do
minutes.
2 or 3 hours,
do
and then
that.
that's it. So the new one
yeah.
I started yesterday was on PlayStation Now. I will finish this one because I actually want to finish it. Is BioShock 2.
Oh, so good. I love Bioshock 2.
Yes.
Because I
So underrated.
Bioshocks are fantastic.
played it before and I really liked it back in the day, but BioShock 1 I've played in the double digits times. Infinite I've played in the double digits.
Yeah.
2 I've only played once, and I'm like, okay, I liked it when I was younger. I want to see now if it holds up.
It
Because
does,
I-
it's great.
Yeah,
I think
so
it's
far
actually
I'm
better.
about 2 or 3 hours in. I was good. Parts of it are better. I prefer the plot obviously way better in 1, but
There's
little
one. So
gameplay
you're not going to get
tweaks.
better than 1.
I disagree. I think Infinite's the best.
I think
No,
it is
oh
the
yeah,
best
yeah.
too.
Well,
Yeah.
Infinite is the best, yeah. But I kind of keep Infinite as like a spin-off to, because like one is directly preceded by 2, and then Infinite kind of takes place in its own
It's not-
universe. I know,
yeah.
yes, it does cross over into DLC and
Even
it
at the
is
end of the
all,
game, it's
yeah, it's like all connected in some way, shape, or form. But it's
Exactly.
always,
So
it
I
is-
wouldn't say it's not. I think it's a spin-off just because it's in a different location. Because
yeah,
like,
no, it is.
that's
It
a
is
bit
a
harsh.
follow-on, but it's what I'm
it's
getting.
a
It's like it's not a
Bioshock game
direct
through and
follow
through.
kind of thing. Now,
There's always a lighthouse. There's always a girl.
funny thing is, I played Bioshock 2 because I bought Bioshock 1. Massive fan of Bioshock. It was a random purchase for me as well. I just found it in Extravision and was like, that looks
That's
shiny on the
so
cover. So I
great
bought it.
when you so great when you find something like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is amazing.
And it turned out to be one of my favorite games ever. But I bought 2, and I bought the special collector's edition of 2 where it came with the vinyl.
Wow.
Loads of shit, but I can't remember what it comes with now, but I know it had a vinyl on it. And I was so disappointed with 2 when I bought it. I did not like it. I thought it was just really linear and horrible. And I did not play 2 again until the collection came out again.
Great
And
collection.
I remember, I think I was like talking to Baven at the time because she's a big Bioshock fan as well. And I just remember messaging her and going, I can't believe how wrong I was when I played Bioshock 2 at first. Like, this is an amazing game. What was I thinking? It's like, what?
Yeah. That's why I'm gonna go back, because I liked it when I was a kid. It's not that long ago. But when I played it when it first came out. But even to this day, I'm still of the opinion Bioshock 2 didn't need to happen. It didn't need a sequel.
It didn't.
It doesn't tell a story that was necessarily a story we needed to ever.
Yeah.
I
was nice,
disagree. I disagree completely.
I don't think Bioshock.
No, I
don't think
will
we needed
agree.
Bioshock 2.
You could say that about like a lot of sequels and stories
Oh,
that don't necessarily
yeah.
pick up where the last one last one picked up. it was in the same whatever different story, but it gave you more of the world as well.
That's why I like it, because I love
it's like,
Rapture so much, and I think that's why people got it, because everyone loved Rapture so much.
Yeah, it's great. You could say that about so many things. Well, that game didn't need to happen. We didn't need to know that story. Like, fuck you. I wanted to know it.
I fully agree with you.
I think it's a matter of...
This is the industry we like so much.
Yeah.
It's Hollywood as well. Sequel, right? Everything needs a sequel.
See, I think with the likes of BioShock 2, when you have a sequel like BioShock 2 where it doesn't directly follow on from the previous story, I agree that it didn't need to be... Like, I could have finished BioShock 1 and would have been happy never having another BioShock game in the series. Yes, I would have loved it, but I would have been happy because it was such a good game.
Same.
When they brought 2 along and it didn't follow... It's kind of one of those things of, oh yeah, you're not giving more to the story, you're following on with the characters that you love. What it's doing is giving you a brand new story. It's like the Oblivion, Elder Scrolls and Morrowind, where they're all just like different stories, like Fallout series as well.
Yeah.
Where they're just brand new stories. They're all in the same like universe, but they follow on and they give like a brand new story for each thing. So you're getting different tastes of different kind of like, little bits of like knowledge from like different little parts, like in different perspectives.
Yeah. Because I think you can absolutely say I think Rapture is one of the best characters in games. Because that city itself is a character. Like a
character?
Because you're walking around all the time. You're seeing so much storytelling in that game. You can see it all the time. It is a character. You know you're there all the time. It's great world building.
I'm confused why you're saying the word character for a place.
Never heard that before? You never heard that before?
Yeah,
like
no,
a place can be a character?
Yeah. Someone did a breakdown of BioShock before and actually did the exact same thing. They compared BioShock as a character.
You're an idiot, Brian.
Oh, okay. I'm an idiot. Okay, well, all these people who are there. Then Sid Feed is an idiot.
All these people who are just, full of shit.
Don't listen to him, Brian. He drinks
Blake Snyder is
Carlsberg.
here. Anyway, we have been going for like 20 minutes there. We really should get into our actual episode.
We will have another episode on BioShock the trilogy.
We will. You just have to... People, if you're watching, if you're listening, half the reason we come up with these topics is because we just mention it in a previous episode. We're like, oh, that'd be a great idea. So we'll never run out of things to talk about. Okay, yeah, so now it's time to actually start the podcast proper. We are going to talk about Resident Evil 2 Remake that came out in 2019. Who would like to go first? Or will I just pick one of you?
Fire away, Brian.
Kyle, go first.
Fuck.
You go first.
Okay, so I'll talk about initial beginnings of it, like I'd say. So, like, in terms of when it came out and people were talking about it as a remake, like, there isn't that... At that point, I don't think there was that many examples of a good remake. Like, there was definitely a few that were pretty good, but the ones that kind of got really a good kind of attention were much more simplistic kind of games. Like
I think a lot of them were remasters and stuff like that. Yeah, Ratchet and Clank was like a remake, but like
that was a proper remake.
Really only remasters.
A lot of remasters. Yeah. So very few very successful remakes, because especially when you're dealing with a game that has such a hard fandom, like Resident Evil is an incredible, like, that's a huge franchise that loads of people love. So when you're going to be taking one of the most, I'd say it's probably the most famous one, that and 4.
Two is probably 2 is probably
I would say 2 is probably the most famous.
2 and 4 definitely. Yeah.
2 and 4. So you're already treading like in very dangerous waters by even touching that, because people will say, and I will agree, that the original is still very playable and it is still a fantastic game.
Oh yeah.
100%. Even the graphics look like potato shite. It's still great.
It's the charm. It's fine.
But it is. It's still, and also because obviously you do have that nostalgia when you're playing it. You remember when you first played it, even though the jump scares and all that mightn't be as as terrifying for you. You remember when you had it first and you were like, "Oh, that scared the shit out of me," and you're happily playing along. But like, when it first of all, it was beautiful. Like visually, when you start the game, it's like, oh, this looks amazing. Yep. So it's really hard for any sort of company to look into a remake. Sorry?
Do you remember the part? It's literally the opening part where the bus driver's driving in and he's eating
his burger.
I was like, that is the
what a burger.
looking burger.
Yeah, that burger.
What?
Yeah,
like, the graphics have jumped so far that they've made me hungry. That's food.
Usually the only medium to ever do that to me is anime. Anime food makes me immediately go, food. So
When I
the burger is brilliant.
I had to go and order ramen.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to go and order ramen.
Brilliant. So it visually was so great. Just straight away, you're like, you had this sense of like, okay, this is going to be the opening sequence being in that petrol station or gas stations for you Yanks out there. It was really good because it was so simple. It was really, really. It's just such a simplistic introduction to the situation that you as your character is going in on. Just weird, just like really dark, really quiet. The shadows and everything. The graphics were phenomenal. The shadow effects and everything in it were just you get chills just looking at the damn thing. And you're going into that quiet little shop. Everything's dark. The reflective lights, the ray. It's just you created an atmosphere immediately that just you get the hair standing in the back of your neck, and you're just really excited to kind of get this going. Almost immediately, and that little scene I think is what put a lot of people's worries to rest almost immediately. Was as soon as you had that little introduction in that gas station, in the petrol station, you're thinking to yourself, this is going to be amazing. And by God it was.
I think as well for that like gas station sequence where that is brand new, that never happened in the original. So straight
Ballsy
away
move as well.
Yeah, straight away it was like you're given this experience that is brand new, so you have it straight away in your mind that they're like, it feels like Resident Evil. I have that jump in tenseness of Resident Evil, but I have this new section, so you're kind of you know straight away that not only are they going to make a Resident Evil 2 remake that you kind of had hope for, but you have these new sequences and new events that like you never had to deal with. So it was kind of, you knew you were in for a brand new ride when you were playing that, and I think like it was important for them to establish that straight out by putting that gas station sequence straight in. Like, and I was scared as, but well, not scared, but I was tense as fuck when you like leg it out of that gas station.
Yeah,
and
go Cal.
Oh, sorry. So, like, they obviously do a really great job of showing you the zombie as well. Because your first interaction with a zombie in it is just very slow. It's giving you that, because it's like rising up kind of a thing. Just the skin and everything, the rotting, you can see through the tissue and the muscle and the jawline. Like you can see the teeth, but you can also see part of the jaw muscle go through the actual flesh as well. And it's like, I love that they showed it so slowly as well. And like, it wasn't this big grand sort of moment. It was just very much a case of, I need to get some diesel. and you just go in and it's like there's a fucking zombie there, and it's really tense.
I think that was like very reminiscent of Resident Evil 1 when you first see the zombie and he turns his head over like that straight away, because in Resident Evil 2 you never really got that either. The start off to it was literally you driving into the town and seeing the kind of chaos. But Resident Evil 1, when you first introduced to a zombie, it's like the head turn, and it's an iconic moment, and they kind of replicated that brilliantly. And that part where he like rips he bites into the flesh and tears the flesh up. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's like they've set the pace.
Yeah. Well, they're reintroducing the franchise in a way, because like if you're saying there that iconic scene, the zombie head turning, this is they're reintroducing it in a way. And they kind of gave that then. So, Brian, you wanted to say a point anyway?
I did. I can't remember what it was now, but I can ramble about stuff anyway.
Ramble away. Ramble away, my friend.
Yeah, I think what you'd already touched on there. Everything you touched on there is kind of, I agree with. That's what I wanted to say. But just to go off by how beautiful it looks, I think Capcom have struck gold with the RE engine, because they have Resi 7. Resi 7 had the same engine, Resi 2 had it now, 3 had it, and I don't know, it's it's almost approaching that uncanny valley kind of thing now, where it's looking so good, it's unnerving how good it looks. I mean, when you shoot a zombie or anything like that in its head, or like the actual,
It explodes.
the effects that happen and the gore effects that are just outstanding. And as well, it goes for it's the atmosphere of the game as well. At one point did I feel comfortable in that game, even when I was in a safe space.
Yeah.
No.
And we'll get onto that later on as well. But yeah, it's the perfect remake, because it is it's essentially a 1-to-1 remake as well. They didn't.
It is. It's like
anything new.
90% is like a direct remake.
Yeah, they didn't add anything new. They didn't really take anything away. They kind of scaled one or two things down later on in the game, which I was totally fine with. Like
they added,
I think. There was a fight. In the original, there was a fight, the boss fight with the plant, but in this one, you just more like neutralize it, which I was fine with, to be honest. Yeah. And I applaud the game for its replayability as well, because you technically have 4 playthroughs of it. You have Claire A, Claire B, Leon A, and Leon B. And again, we can talk about all that later, but just first initial impressions was I was shitting myself for
Profusely.
18 hours of that game. No point was I comfortable.
I like
And I would say it was my game of the year in 2019. And I don't even like horror. Like the guys will tell you,
I'm the same.
I don't like horror.
No,
I don't like horror. I don't
loves it.
like horror. I don't watch it. This guy loves horror.
I'm
in fact, actually, can you show us? You like zombies so much, right?
Yeah. Zombie
Actually,
tattoo
to
and
be fair, actually, the funny thing is, one of the zombies I actually have on my arm is the Resident Evil zombie.
Zombie we just spoke about. Yeah, there he is.
Wow.
There you go.
I love like zombies all on my arm.
Yeah, he loves zombies. So
I'm a massive I'm a horror fan, but in particular, I love zombies. And the funny thing is that my brother got me into horror games when I was younger, far too young. I was like 8, and he used to play.
It explains so much.
It does. Yep. But he used to play Silent Hill, and that was the first horror game I was ever shown. And Resident Evil 2 was the second, and Resident Evil 2 is the very first game I bought on PS1. Years later, because we had a copy, but it kind of like disappeared. But like Resident Evil 2, to me, when I was younger, that was like my introduction to, besides like Silent Hill, those 2 games were my introduction to essentially the rest of my life, kind of thing, where like they like Silent Hill was an amazing game, and like some of the original horror films I was shown were like slasher films, so like Scream and stuff. But Resident Evil 2 was my descent into like horror obsession with zombies. And like I would just eat up all these like cheap ass zombie films like Zombie Flesh Eaters, Nightmare City, the all Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. Like I would watch anything, like all those like famous Italian horror films. The most of them are like zombie films. It was brilliant. But like Resident Evil 2 is just an iconic game in my history.
That was your gateway drug.
Yeah, it was my gateway drug. It was one of those things when I remember they announced that they were remaking it. Massive, and I was kind of terrified at first because I didn't know what the hell they were going to do. I didn't know whether they were essentially just going to remake 7. And then when they because the story to how the Resident Evil 2 remake came about was a studio called Invader Studios. They were essentially remaking Resident Evil 2 for free. They were rebuilding up from the ground with the Unreal Engine. And that got a lot of there was a lot of media about that, and it was a lot of like fan joy. Like there was a lot of people waiting for it. I was waiting for it. And Capcom contacted Invader Studios and said, we need you to halt doing this because we're going to do it.
We're doing it.
And I'm not sure whether they'd kind of planned to do it, or they saw the hype behind it and they were like, we could cash in on that. But they got Invader Studios over to the Capcom studio. I think they kind of helped them as well. To
probably gave
work
it
on
all of its code and stuff.
Yeah. Invader Studios also went on to do Daymare 1998, which is actually a fairly decent game. If you enjoy those old school horror games, get it. It's actually fairly good. But like, I remember just kind of seeing the original trailer for it, and I was like, I'm sold. Absolutely sold. It's in safe hands. They're not going to do anything wrong with it.
Yeah, and they didn't, in fairness.
No.
I think we have a very similar.
thing.
I think we have a very similar dynamic to how we were speaking about anime as well. Is that Kieran watches more anime than either of us. I'm kind of in the middle ground, and then Brian's in the lower tier of how much. Again, very similar when it comes to horror stuff. Horror in general, I'm not a huge fan, especially movies. I don't like horror movies in general. They kind of bore me because they rely on very cheap jump scares, and it's always just a case of who survives last, and it never entices me that much. But the exception to that rule being oftentimes zombie movies. I really like zombie movies. Nowhere as much to the point where I've watched older ones and things like that. When newer zombie movies as I was growing up came out, I was definitely really interested in them. I was definitely part of that huge zombie fandom craze of like 2012, prior to 2012, when zombie movies were coming. Yeah, when zombie movies were coming out left, right, and center, to the point where they even made a fucking romantic. They even made a romantic fucking comedy. Goddamn. Fucking zombie movie.
Oh,
was like that.
They did. I can't remember the name of that.
Oh my god, it was so
Warm
bad.
Bodies.
Warm Bodies. Oh,
Warm
dying
Bodies.
of fire.
That destroyed it. That just shot it right in the face.
Yeah, it's like, that's the fact. It's gaining a lot of popularity. Warm Bodies.
It's almost like Hollywood know. They're like, all right, we need to kill this real quick.
Yeah,
it's
we need to kill
it's but and one thing that really just I remember talking about this to I think it was Baven as well. Actually, I was talking about Warm Bodies. Where
it talk to anyone else?
It's I don't know, it weirds me out the fact that they have essentially tried to romanticize
a corpse.
Necrophilia. That's not really okay. I know vampires you can get away with it because they're like undead, but zombies are quite literally rotting corpses that are reanimated. And you're trying to cash in on romance with this because Twilight is a success.
That was exactly it, though. That's exactly what they did.
Why.
Vampires were really, really popular.
Was a comedy, though. It wasn't.
It was a comedy, but it doesn't matter.
I'll give it that.
If you think about the fact that it's
not a comedy.
corpse.
Not a comedy in the sense Shaun of the Dead was a comedy. It was like a romantic
It was a rom-com.
Yes.
Yeah.
So not comedy like taking the piss or like Zombieland. Like those are comedies and they're fucking amazing. Fucking incredible movies. Yeah. So good. And they're really gory and horrible, but like they're great.
Oh, love it.
But it's same with games as well. The only the horror genre that I usually would be like, oh, I'm really interested in this would be zombie games because they're really oftentimes really, really fun.
Yeah, so I have a little anecdote about Resident Evil 2 because as we just said, I'm not a fan of horror. I can play their games because I'm in control of what happens. If there's a door and there's something behind that door, I don't have to go through that door. I can just go the other way.
Until it tells you have to go through that door.
Until eventually it tells me you have to go through that door. But I have a funny anecdote that I don't mind sharing on this. I think I might have told Karen this. I don't know if you know, Kyle. But
I'm offended.
The game came out and the game boasts a 3D audio effect.
Oh, the binaural?
For binaural.
Amazing.
For headphones. And I have my 7.1s here, so I was like, I'm going to stick on my headphones, I'm going to play this game. I am a 28-year-old man. I can play a goddamn video game at night in the dark. I can do this.
You sure?
So I got through the street. Everyone knows as the game starts, you crash your respective character. I played as Claire through my first playthrough because Claire's an absolute boss.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then I got to the police station, and you have to do they released the opening of the game, at least the police station, a few months beforehand, just for someone who wanted to play it. The demo, yeah, which I played once. It was very fun. But here I am, game it just launched. I'm playing it. Got my headphones on. It's like really dark. It's 2 in the morning. I'm playing it. And I'm like, I'm 28. I can do this. So I'm playing the entire first start, and you save the guy you have to pull him out and everything like that. And I did all that, and it was fine. And then you got to go into the other part where like the liquor would be in the original game. and you get that really amazing scene of the guy. She lifts up, lifts up the guy's head, and his face is half missing.
Yeah,
the detail on that's insane.
So good.
So yeah, and then I started playing a bit more. And it was about 5 minutes after that. You roughly know where I am now. Where the gun locker places we get to put in the codes. It's roughly around this point where I'm so freaked out. I throw off my headphones, get up, run to my light switch, turn on my lights. I'm like, I can't do this.
I'm 28. I can't do this.
And I'm like, and I didn't get up. I scampered across my room to turn on my light. I'm like, no, turn this on. So for the rest of the game, I played during the day with no headphones on. Because there's points in that game where you don't know what's through any door.
No.
And then you have to really start, and it's not the first hard game to do it, but I really like what this one does. You have a very limited inventory space, so you have to be very careful about what you bring and what you don't bring. I can't tell you the amount of times where I had to have a key item that I just left in my safety chest and then had to run all the way back, all the way, and then all the way back again. Yeah, so another thing I really like about the Resi 2 remake is, in the same vein as the inventory system, is that you really, really have to conserve your ammo so badly, because I can't mention the amount of times I ran out of ammo and I was left to either like the knife or I just had to run, which again, and it's a whole aspect of Resident Evil 2, the original and the remake, where you have to be tactical. So you can leave some zombies up, but they'll still be there later on. So you could forget. There's parts of it I forgot what rooms I cleared out and what hallways that still had zombies. So I would be running away from Mr. X, who we will definitely talk about. And I would run into a zombie, and then I'm bitten, and then I'm already low on health. So it's, in terms of just pure gameplay, it's so fun. Why have I got so much to focus? Stop focus. There we go.
Look at me.
Too bright, man.
Just too bright. Freak it out on me here, camera. But yeah. So what do you guys think of the inventory or ammo situation that you have?
I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
It immediately gave you that sense of dread every single time you like encounter anything. And when you, I think they did say that there was a fine amount of ammo in the game. Like there was no like, it wasn't like it was on some sort of respawn timer or something like that. It's actually this is how much ammo, and that's it.
It doesn't come back.
So when you were in, you definitely have to conserve your ammo. I love that about it, because you're talking about having that edge all the time. You're on edge, and that just adds to it massively. That doesn't let you ever take a breather. Because I've had to have so many times. Now, I never ran like a bitch to my light, but you know.
I did. Yep.
I 100% had to stop the game so many times because I needed like a mental break. Because you're just on edge all the time. Every room you go into is a mental battle. And when you go in, you take care of that room, you're like, okay, I can. Whew, okay, what's in the next room? Peek through the next room, bunch of other zombies. Okay, never mind. I can close the door there. I need a break. I don't know. I need a Pepsi or something. How do you deal with this?
Pepsi Max.
Funny thing is that when I played that game, I just felt that it was so intense playing the game, that I would play it for like an hour maybe and have to turn off the console, just walk away, go down, make myself a cup of tea, like just take a break actually away from it, because my heart would be like beating. And I'm used to playing horror games. I'm used to watching horror movies, but that game is just like, in particular, as Brian, you were saying, because I remember when we were texting back and forth when we were playing Resident Evil. You were in your like room in the dark, and I was like, "Oh yeah, man!" I put my headphones on, and there's binaural, and I've like the blinds down, and I'm pitch black playing the game.
Get any text message? That's fine.
And I was
texting each other about everything. Like,
you didn't even have it at this point.
That's
I'm
fine.
sorry, but
that's fine.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Get games when we.
I texted Brian about Persona 5 all the time.
Yeah, we did text a lot about that.
Yeah, you did.
We still do the odd time, to be honest.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah,
fuck you, Kieran. It's all about you.
Anyway, I would be texting you, headphones on, blinds down, binaural audio option set, and I remember I was at the point where you were in the garage, the parking lot part, and you'd come across the dogs. My first picture was Leon, so you come across the dogs, and you could literally hear the nails of the dogs traipsing across the floor, like right behind you, and it was so intense. Like that game, especially with the binaural, makes it so much more intense. And I had to take a break. To take a break every so often and just kind of like zone out just a little before I jump back on.
Yeah.
But another gameplay mechanic that in time with the ammo, and it's just from a point where you said where you were like you forgot to like that you didn't clear out a certain area, is the knife mechanic. The fact that you had to pick up new knives and it would damage over time. Thought that was brilliant. But main importantly is the boards, and you had to choose. There was a finite amount of boards. You had to choose which hallways to block off so that they would be safe when you travel them. And because there was only a finite amount of boards, you couldn't bar up everything. So you had to pick and choose which hallways you wanted to board up so it would be more safe for you. And I remember because I recently only restarted Resident Evil 3 or Resident Evil 2. It was on Xbox sale, so I bought it again. And I'm playing Claire as my first playthrough again. And there was one hallway that I was supposed to go back and board up. And then Mr. X showed up and made me run through that hallway. And there was like 4 zombies in it. And I was like, fuck.
That happened to me too many times.
Yeah.
And there's another thing thinking back on it now, I'm like, God, such a dick move by the developers. But at the same time, I loved it. Is like the seemingly random amount of bullets it would take to kill a zombie. Sometimes it could be 2. Sometimes it could be 10.
Yeah.
Crit shots.
Single shot, blow the head up, and then the next zombie you would empty a clip into it, and it would fall to the ground. You're like, oh, fine, he's dead. And it would just grab you and start killing you.
Yeah, it was after the game came out that they came out and said that
it's a random crit shot, wasn't it?
It's not random. It is all tied to how well you are doing. There's an AI built into the game to analyze how well you are doing. If you're doing really well, and you have a lot of ammo and you have a lot of herbs, it takes more bullets to take them out. If you are doing poorly, the chances of you getting a one-shot critical hit are a lot higher. So I really like that. And also it does have to do with herb placement and ammo placement as well. Yeah. Which is really cool. Yeah. So 4 has the same thing. Resident Evil 4. Awesome. They never said it. They didn't say it for about 10 years.
That's an incredible. That's a credible piece of technology. You should really be like crazy. Kind of going like, we're awesome. We came up with this like difficulty modifier that just changes depending on how you do it
on the fly. Yeah.
That's incredible.
4 had it, and they didn't say it for about 10 years, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we have this technology in 4, and then they obviously improved it in 2 remake. But it's so cool. Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 also had it. They had something called the director.
Yes,
the director would look at how you're playing and you're doing well. No ammo, no new good guns. Remember, you thought to get better guns. None of that. More mobs, more special types and everything.
Also, one of the funny things is that, let's say, for example, if you're like, oh, I'm safe in this area, or I'm in a corner and they can't get me, or I'm just kind of staying around, they would just start chucking hordes at you.
Awesome.
One of Left 4 Dead 2 was probably one of the smartest AI engines you'll kind of find. It's like, it's again like the better you do and the more specials you might get in a certain area kind of thing. It was a smart game. Like
so I'm interested now to see where they take that again, because we can talk about it at the end, but they are apparently remaking 4. Resident Evil 4. Be interested to see that again come up in that as well. But we'll get on to that, because right now I want to talk about the big man himself, big chungus.
X gonna give it to you. You gonna give it to you.
X gonna kill you, bitch. And the plethora of mods that came with him.
The X gonna give it to you. You'd always hear it.
Yeah, you can hear it
as he got closer. Yeah. So, Mr. X I would go as far as say is one of the best innovations in a game in ever.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
This is very good.
you can look at this. There's a great YouTube series called Boundary Break, that basically look at what goes on in games when you can't see them. What's most games, if there's a door, the door is technically a loading screen. It loads in the room, and you just can't see it. So what they found with Resident 2 Remake is that the entire police station is rendered at all times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mr. X is walking around
Yep.
at all times. He
Yep.
never goes away until it's the scripted moments where he does go away.
Yeah.
I've never been more scared of something in my life than Mr. X.
Oh,
because
stop.
he is relentless. He doesn't stop. There's no, like, what's the quote from Terminator 1? There's no reasoning with it. There's no bargaining with it.
Yeah.
It just wants to kill you. And I remember a few nights, it was after I discovered him. And it was a whole night of just running, because you have to plan. You have to bring up your map every 5 minutes, plan your route, because you're like, okay, I need to run from here to here, and I need to do that in the quickest way possible, the safest way possible of where he could be,
And the quietest way possible.
and
Because
the
bullets
quietest way possible.
alert
Yeah.
him, which is insane. Well, it
and
makes perfect sense,
Anything
but it's
will
amazing.
alert him.
You would
Yeah.
always hear like, and one
And
of the funniest things about Mr. X is that also Mr. X was never like, he wasn't in the first game except if you were playing Claire's
Except
playthrough.
if you're only in Claire's run through, yeah.
And he didn't have a massive part, not in comparing to the remake.
Yeah.
But like,
he was just there.
every time in Resident Evil 2, after the point where Mr. X came about, I never felt safe. Even in a safe
No.
room, I never felt safe.
No.
Like, and there'd be times where you might like duck into a room and you'd be like, oh, he's not going to follow me because he's too big. And he would just like open
Yeah.
the door and poke his head down and just like climb through the fucking door frame.
Yeah.
It's so creepy.
Terrifying. You
So
genuinely
terrifying.
are not safe anywhere.
Yeah.
You're not safe.
They are constantly adding.
So-
They constantly added things to the overall experience that doesn't let anything doesn't let up
Yeah.
at any point, which is what I love, because it's so easy to be desensitized to a game after a while. So like we don't know, like Dying Light there, you at the very beginning you're very skeptical about even jumping across buildings because you're thinking, oh my god, if I fall down I fall into this horde of zombies. But eventually you get very much used to the mechanics and you're kind of like, I don't really give a shit. So if you sometimes even run across the ground and you're like, fuck off, you can't catch me, I can just dodge and shit. But they've implemented the ammo restrictions, the Mr. X, the inventory, the board, all this kind of stuff that constantly puts you on edge and it never lets up.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the most glowing reviews you can give to someone like Kieran, who's a massive horror fan, to not get desensitized and actually still feel like, oh shit, I actually need a break.
There's only
to
one
keep
other
someone on edge.
horror game.
Yeah, that's
there's
incredible
only one
to
horror
do
game I
that.
can think of that did that for me, and that was the original Dead Space.
Yeah.
Oh.
I never
Okay.
felt comfortable at all in
yeah.
Dead Space.
I
Well,
was the
what
very
if-
same, because Dead Space did that thing where even if you're in a safe there, because you had a safe room in Dead Space, but you could be attacked in the safe areas in Dead Space, so you were never safe in that game. There are very few games that are comparable to Resident Evil and has that same intensity and still that same jump scare and still all those like mechanics that just improve and improve on your experience of the game. Very few, very far and few. Like some of the only great horror games, and you can kind of name them, was like Silent Hill, the Dead Space series, all the Resident Evil games, going back to like the likes of Cold Fear and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a cult classic, not massively horror, but it was popular, but it was a great horror game. Very, very, very few great horror games that have come out over the years. Resident Evil was just one of them. Like,
Probably one of the only horror games. I'm literally drawing a blank on his name, and I feel horrible because it was one of my favorite ones because it was done by an indie company as well. It is called.
Amnesia.
Sorry, yes, I remember before I checked it. It is Layers of Fear.
oh yeah, they're the
Layers-
guys. They're the guys that made Medium.
Yeah, they're again indie company, and they were one of the first-ish anyway to really push the possibility of being able to load an entirely different scenery to your point of view while you are turning your point of view.
Yeah.
Which is an incredibly difficult feat to achieve. And now the game is on the likes of Switch, and I have played on the Switch to see what it's like. Doesn't work in the same way. There is that lag, you could say, as the loading happens. But when I played it on my computer, utterly seamless. And this is a case where you literally, at first, it starts off by literally just, you know, you look at a painting, you're like, that's a weird looking painting. You turn around and books fly at you, you're like, fuck. But the best one was when you open a door, and then all you see in front of you is another door. And you're like, oh, okay, I'll go open that door. Open the door. Doesn't open. You're like, huh? Okay, I'll just turn around back where I came. Door is gone. It's like, huh? And then you turn back around to where the door is, and door is gone. And you're like, what? And you turn back around, and a painting is in front of your face. Like, what? What? And everywhere you turn, something new was there. And I was like, this is awesome, but I am so afraid.
Is happening? Yeah.
You should definitely play medium if you liked Lair of Fear. Also, the
Layers of
studio
Fear.
is called Bloober Studio.
Bloober.
Yeah,
What a fun
they're
sounding
absolutely
name.
fantastic. They did Lair of Fear. What was the other game they did?
Lair of Fear 2?
Yeah, but they
That
did.
didn't get
Yeah,
much.
I mean,
That
There's
didn't get a
another
whole
game
lot
that
of
was
praise.
that was along the lines of Lair of Fear as well. It'll probably come back to me later on. But if you haven't played medium, play medium.
Sub-Lair of
I keep
terror.
pushing this every few episodes, but play medium. It's so good.
Don't think so.
I think we should play
No, I want to make a point. Sorry, with Resident Evil 2, we'll go back to that. So what did you say for a while? now.
What's our episode again?
We were talking about there with Resident Evil 1, one of the most iconic scenes being the turning head of the original zombie, the first zombie you encounter. One of the other incredibly iconic scenes, sort of moments in the game, is when you're walking through a hallway and the dogs break through the glass.
Oh, yeah.
Usually, that's kind of the scene that terrified the most people, and that's what they would
that is-
remember as being their first really jump out of the chair experience. I'd say Resident Evil 2 has a more iconic scene, personally. And that's going to be the introduction to the liquor. And those sons of bitches are horrifying. So when they introduce them
Absolutely.
in Resident Evil 2, you know it's coming. You know it's coming.
Yep.
Especially if you played it before, you know exactly when it's happening. And then when it happens, knowing didn't help you. It is still horrifying. And again, props to the AI because of the way that they are solely based on sound. So you can walk away from them, but the game is so good at making you fucking panic that even when they move towards you and you are walking and you know that it can't hear you, you still run instinctively out of sheer fear, and then they know where you are, and then it's just like, fuck.
Yeah, Harpy. Those moments when you have to walk under a liquor.
Oh, stop.
Oh, and the tongue.
And it's how you come down everything.
And the funny thing is
man.
that if you played the original Resident Evil 2, you expect the liquor to happen.
It's not in the first place.
Yeah, it's like you see it crawl along the window, but it doesn't. And you're waiting for. I was playing that game and I was expecting. I was waiting for the liquor to kind of crawl across the window. Never happened. I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. And you never get an interaction of like the subtle introduction to the liquor. It's just bam right in your face. There's the liquor.
Right there, outside the stars room.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, that's it.
It was
Man,
no
they
match for
are-
my grenade launcher.
It was not no match for my grenade.
See, I was Leon the first time, and I did not have a
Leon,
grenade
you had
launcher.
the
I did
shotgun.
I had
Leon,
a
so I had a
shotgun,
shotgun.
and that shotgun might as well have been a fucking BB gun.
I had my goddamn grenade launcher.
But Claire does go against liquors way more often, I believe, than
She does.
She does, yeah. She
Yeah.
encounters them way more.
So
She-
you definitely need a grenade launcher.
Yeah, she goes up against dogs as well when you go outside, which leads me to my next point of that they did add one completely new area to Resident Evil 2, and that was the
Yeah, the
orphanage.
Yeah.
The orphanage. When you finally get outside the police station, which, by the way, can we all mention how utterly creepy Chief Irons is?
Oh, his office.
His
Ooh.
office.
It's like, do you know that notebook you find where he's like talking
Yeah.
about his hunting, and then his
look at the
description
hunt.
is quite obviously a human.
Yeah, the last one's a woman, or the last two are like women. I'm like, oh boy, you're a creepy man. And then he gets that phone call, or he rings. He's like, oh, hey Claire, we have Claire, Claire, sorry.
Claire.
We have unfinished business. I'm like, oh, you're just so awful. Stop talking. You're so creepy. And I remember going towards the orphanage. You had to fight dogs and zombies. I ran out of ammo completely during that part of the game. To the point where I remember I was talking to my brother after it. I just got into the orphanage and I'd saved it. And I was thinking, I'm going to have to reset. I can't go on now with no ammo at all. I can't do it. And he was like, oh, you might. It's like, go a little bit further, see what happens.
You might find
But
some
yeah,
ammo.
for about 2 hours after that in game, I was struggling for ammo. And I'm like,
I love those
knifing
parts.
people.
Love it.
I
It's
love
so
them.
terrifying. It's brilliant.
I love
Yeah,
those parts where you might kind of. There's those parts in Resident Evil 2 where you feel so safe and secure with all your ammo that you go around just being like, bang, headshot, bang, headshot.
I've done that.
And you get to a part where you're just like, oh my god, I just wasted all my ammo getting to this
nothing.
point and now I have nothing here. I remember
Especially if it's
coming
a
across-
boss
you know
fight.
yeah, that happened to me when I fought Birkin for the first time.
Yeah.
I had nothing. And the only things they give around that room are like a grenade, some herbs, and 2 bits of handgun ammo. That's it. And I had to try and
Handgun
kill
ammo
him.
is fucking, might as well be a squirt gun. To
Oh,
him.
it's a squirt gun to him.
Bang. Ow. Sorry, no, I am just looking up because there is one character I do want to mention.
Ada?
You know,
It wasn't Ada, but we can talk about Ada as well. I am looking for the name of the police officer who saves your life. Yeah, I'm very sad that he died and he's like, no, you get out of the city. Just go,
Yeah.
I'll be fine. I'm like, you're going to turn, man. And then every single time you go back to the main lobby, I
you
kept
expect him.
expecting him to be turned into a zombie. And he was like, okay, he's not. He's still alive.
But then
Still
he
alive.
does.
He's still alive. And then you get to the point where you can just escape now and he's a zombie. I'm like, no. And you shoot him, and if you play as Claire's like, I'm so sorry. I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're so cool.
It's a
remember
really,
his
it's a
name.
really good thing in it because again, like the horror element to it is fantastic. You're afraid, but you got to get that little bit of people in there, that little bit
Yeah.
of humanism, which is always going to drive a little bit further home. Then, I think one of the great examples of that as well was the sort of welcome party that Leon was
yeah,
supposed to
yeah.
get.
Welcome.
You had the banners and everything
the
there.
first day on the
They had a
job.
little office. Well, this is what's great. They tied in a game mechanic with an actual story that's
Oh,
sort
yeah,
of,
yeah.
that's actually
Yeah, I love
believable.
that. I liked it a
It's
lot.
like you're what was it again? It was like he's
Yeah, his welcome
he's
party, his
cold.
first day on the
His
job.
desk
It was
was locked.
his desk was locked and he
Yeah.
had to know the names of get to know everyone on the
yeah.
Last
precincts.
names of everyone.
I think
Yeah.
that was
So
brilliant.
smart.
So
Because
good.
obviously
Yeah,
Resident Evil, they love their little codes and their locked doors and their safes and all this kind of stuff. So they kind of put that in there, but to make it believable as part of the story.
Yeah.
Beautiful touch.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
there's
very
actually something-
sad. It's just you look at all the banners, everything there, and there's bodies, and it's like,
Yep.
and you shot all of them probably.
All of these people,
Oh, you
essentially,
killed them.
yeah.
You've encountered them in the hallway.
There's a
They're
really
not
cool
just
Easter egg as
nameless
well in that.
zombies.
Yeah, there's a really cool Easter egg in that bullpen that I don't know if anyone would have noticed. Kieran, you probably would have noticed it. But back in the original game in 1998, when you go into that room, the banner is there, Welcome Leon, but it's spelled wrong. It has 2 L's in Welcome. Obviously a translation error or whatever. But if you look in the remake, there is Welcome, but there's a gap between L and C. And there's another one after
That's
falling
nice.
down. And if you look on the others, if you go behind it and look at the other side, it's another L.
Oh, very
Like,
nice.
That's a cool little Easter egg.
It's-
That's a
yeah,
cool
it's
little
nice.
Oh, there's loads of Easter eggs in that game. Like there was like
Yeah,
the
so many.
names of the developers were hidden in there as well.
Yep.
I think there was in the gas station scene. There was a few.
Yeah.
It was something. His motorbike. No, not his motorbike. Sorry, it was
Claire's motorbike.
motorbike had some. I think it was the license plate was the date of the original game's launch or something.
So cool.
So there was a lot of little Easter eggs like that, which were very tasteful.
Tie into because I know you were saying that kind of one of those characters, Marvin was his name.
Marvin.
I knew it began with M. I knew it began with M.
And tie in with that, like, and it's kind of thrown back to when I was saying that some things are kind of like the liquor, or I was like, oh, that didn't happen in that place I was expecting, was Kendo's gun shop.
Kendo's
One of the most
Kendo's gun shop, man.
Iconic places in Resident Evil 2, second to the police station, obviously, because nobody cares about the science lab. Kendo's gun shop is amazing. Like you walk, that's like the first place you get to in the original Resident Evil. You come in and Kendo's like, oh Jesus Christ, about to shoot you, and then the zombie comes in and launches on him. And you can gotta just pick up all the rest of the stuff and
take
go
your
on
shotgun
your way.
and everything. Go, yeah.
And in this one, I was expecting to come across Kendo's gun shop a lot sooner. Didn't. And you get to it after you get out of the parking lot, which is fantastic. And you go up and you kind of talk to Kendo with Ada.
And it only happens with Leon. Yeah, it only happens with Leon.
Yeah. And the worst thing is the fact that you're kind of just sitting there and he's like kind of going on about his daughter and stuff. And then you're kind of subtly led to find out that his daughter's infected.
Yep.
And he's just waiting to kill her or waiting to just die with her.
Yep.
That was rough.
Yeah, that was rough. Like,
Yeah, and that really showed Leon's character then after that moment, because Ada's like, whatever, but Leon cares, and it's a testament to his character. Of
He's
like,
a rookie cop. Like
he's a rookie cop. He wants to help people. He cares about this stuff.
Yeah, he cares.
Right, and he's that kind of righteous goodness of like, we need to make Umbrella pay,
does.
and it is like, you cannot make them.
he
pay.
doesn't. He's got he has that mentality of everything can be solved through good hard work, and doesn't really know the cruelty of reality just yet.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons
I think
Leon is one of my
something-
absolute like top 10 in terms of like characters in games. Leon is up there in the top 10, 100%.
So good, yeah.
One of my
I think
all-time
there's
favorites.
I think there's something that we should have mentioned it way earlier on, but absolute props to the voice actors. Just actors in general. Of Leon and
incredible.
Claire.
Amazing.
Oh my god. The scenes in which they're together, the sexual tension is amazing.
Literally,
saying-
just do it.
Yeah, it was like,
Go,
guys,
go,
this is
Leon,
not-
just kiss her.
Leon and Ada Wong.
Leon
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Them.
You cut it with a knife.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know.
Just
you need a
kiss her, Leon.
chainsaw to cut that at some point.
It is great.
But
and
yeah,
of course,
what
she's
a
constantly
fantastic
there.
voice acting
Constantly
characters.
there. Then Resident Evil 4, who's there? Well, of course,
You know,
Ada's there.
Of course it's Ada,
as well, the nice little tie-in as well is in Resident Evil 3 you get to go back to Kendo's as well, with Jill
do.
talking to Kendo, and Kendo actually knows Jill and they're chatting away, and you're kind of there before the fallout of Leon going there and being like, your daughter's gonna die, and Jill's kind of like, oh, where's your daughter? And he's like, oh, she's just back there. No, it's okay. Don't worry. She's just napping. She's napping. I'm just like, oh my god.
Kendall,
Flashbacks.
yeah. We do have to talk about the sewers.
Yes.
I fucking hated the sewers.
I hated them because they were so
For
terrible.
both characters.
I love
because they
them.
were so scary. Those
and love
weird,
it.
the G creatures.
Yeah, the G creatures. Yeah.
Oh my god, they were absolutely terrifying. But yeah, it was after when I was during my first playthrough as Claire's. I was down there with no ammo because, as I said, I ran out of ammo getting to the orphanage.
Bad place to have no ammo.
I had no ammo, so I had to run from every creature. I had to run from every zombie, and eventually I got some ammo and I was able to clear out somewhat of it. But there's one specific part of that.
Clear out some of it.
Clear. You got it.
Finger gun.
The one section towards the end of it, where you had to basically run a gauntlet down a kind of a long corridor to get. I know Claire gets it's an electric zapping gun. I don't know what.
Oh, the cattle
Like a
prods?
taser gun kind of thing?
Cattle prod kind of gun. Yeah, I can't remember if Leon.
He gets
do you even go down there as Leon?
Yeah, no, you got
down
into
there.
sewers. I think he gets
A different kind of handgun? No, that's
it was
his
a
own.
hand
He gets
cannon,
his
wasn't
his own handgun. He gets Matilda later on.
Yeah. I can't remember what.
I don't think it's the
gets.
flamethrower you get there. I think the
I
flamethrower
think it
later
is the
on in the science
flamethrower.
lab, is it?
The flamethrowers
Oh,
in
wait,
the science lab,
his
yeah.
science lab. Yeah, that makes way more
Yeah.
sense because they're fucking weird tree zombies.
And of course, yeah, we got little Sherry Birkin
no,
with
it's
us.
not. No.
What the fuck is
Who,
it? I'm really thinking he has his standard pistol. He ends up getting Matilda. He has a shotgun.
He does get another shotgun, I think.
He gets two.
Oh no, he gets the Magnum, doesn't he? He gets a Magnum.
He gets
I
a
think it's the
Magnum.
Magnum
That's
down
it.
there,
He's just full of pistols. This guy.
Yeah, but that
loves
gauntlet
them.
run, I hated it. And the chess puzzle, which took me an embarrassing amount of time to figure out.
Oh no! I'm good at puzzles, but even that took me an embarrassing long.
Yeah. It took me too long. Of course, now I'm thinking, because again, we could have split this into not two episodes, but two sections of Claire and Leon, but now we're bouncing back and forth. But Leon has the very famous chase with the giant alligator.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think they were going to do, because in the original it's an actual boss fight. I didn't think they were going to do it.
Yeah, the fact it was a chase was kind of nice.
I thought it was really cool.
I liked that it was a chase. It didn't
really
have to be its own
suspenseful.
big boss fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very suspenseful. It was very good.
That was pretty amazing. And then Leon gets shot, and we play as Ada for a bit, and Mr. X shows back up.
Go,
course he
Mr.
does.
X.
Of course
Which
he
is
does. Which
funny
is
because-
so tense for Ada's part.
Yeah, because she can't.
I died so many times when I was Ada trying to fight
Really?
Mr. X. Yeah, I just like
didn't
because
die, but it was
you are so
really
used
tense.
at that point having like a magnum and a shotgun, and then you're swapped back to Ada with just a handgun, and you've
She has that
basically
lady
no
gun, which
ammo.
is like the
It's a
tiny
pea
little-
shooter gun.
a pea
Yeah.
shooter. And you
Yeah.
have to try to kill these zombies while trying to run away from fucking Mr. X and jumping over all these bloody things.
Yeah.
Jesus
Because
Christ.
It's funny too, because you fight Mr. X, but if you go by Claire's storyline, Mr. X gets killed by William Birkin, and that is
Oh,
something
yeah.
I can talk about later, because it is a point I do want to make of what was a slight disappointment for me in this game. Very slight, not great. So we have Ada versus Mr. X, of which you just run away, isn't it?
Hey, you just run away.
And then you head down. Oh, you head into the incinerator. Oh god! That
Oh,
incinerator.
yeah, and
I
you
died
try-
like two or three times there. I was
Yeah.
like, this is really annoying me. Yeah.
Because it's all the hacking
then-
she has to do as well.
Yeah,
Like,
man, it's all the
while
hacking.
it's like, it's because normally when you like hack things in games, you pause.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's
but
one.
this it's like, no, you have to hack
you're,
and do this
actively
quickly.
aiming a gun around the place. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
No, in this
But
rodeo.
it was tense. I can't really remember much of the sewers apart from the terrifying G creatures. Is there anything you guys can think of?
It was definitely one of those things that makes you want to get the fuck out of there as quick as humanly possible,
yeah.
which I like. Because it's definitely one of those things where I don't think any one of the developers, we want this to be fun. They want people to literally hate the sewers, but hate it for all the right reasons.
Yeah,
Which I think is a very difficult thing to get, because you get a lot of games where there's sections in it that usually has some means of a different terrain, and people don't like it. And when they remember a game, they're like, oh yeah, it's so good, but they almost, when they're thinking about replaying it, the part where they have to go through this different terrain kind of puts them off. They're like, I hated the jungle part, I hated the desert part, whatever the game might be. But
I can take a mini game.
they struck a very good balance in that, like, you didn't hate it because you hated the actual experience. You didn't the game didn't falter or become worse or anything like that.
The gameplay didn't change. It
No.
didn't become a bad game. No,
No, not at all. It was super intense, and it gave you a very good sense of relief once you got out of it, even though you probably never experienced much relief up to that point, because even in the police station it's incredibly intense. But it's weird how it makes you miss that level. It's almost like you're comfortable with that level of intensity, and then when you get put in the sewers, it's all like, oh fuck this is just so, everything's going on, there's zombies coming out from the waters and shit, these blob bastards and everything. And then when you get back up and you're back up to the surface, you're like, oh thank god. But like you're not
the
safe.
sense of relief,
Like,
the sense of relief you get when you go back into
but
it.
you're not safe at all. It's a horrible experience. It's
it's
all
awful.
It's
What am I
all
doing?
intense. It's
The
all
first
terrible.
introduction,
But
like-
it's familiar. So you're like, you feel a little bit more calm
know what to
because it's
expect.
familiar.
The first introduction to those blob things is like you turning a corner and then just sliding down the pipe and smashing into the water, and I'm just like,
Ew, super
Yeah.
gross.
Gross, man.
that's pooey.
Oh, there's poo in that.
Poo everywhere.
Don't mind the
Oh,
zombie.
God.
Poo on my face.
Yeah, I hope they got like fucking tetanus shots and everything after that. Jesus. But,
They went to a lab.
Yeah, the right
just like,
combination
help
of the
themselves.
coloured herbs is a tetanus shot.
Yeah,
It's
Which
a
I
Easter egg.
love as a thing in Resident Evil. It's never cleared up why. It's like,
No,
Who
that
are
is-
all
that
these?
is cleared up.
Yeah.
That is
plant
cleared up. Yeah,
herbs and shit.
if you read the notes in it, they actually do talk about the chemical
I remember the
breakdown.
yeah,
of
I
the
remember
herbs
this,
that
yeah.
actually can help.
Yeah.
Which is smart. I don't think it's brought up in Resident Evil 2.
It's not 2,
I think
it's
I think
3
it's
that's
brought up
brought
in
up
like 5 or 6 or something like that.
I remember 3S a note about it. The
I
remake
think
of 3.
I think so.
I think they do mention it in the remake though.
Yeah, I think in the
They
remake
mentioned
they
it, that
did.
somebody's grandmother was like, "Oh, eat herbs and you'll be healthy."
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Just
Okay,
homeopathic
Grandma,
medicine.
fine.
Medicine really had a comeback in Raccoon City.
Yeah. What else then? I don't think there's anything else in the sewers. We can move on to my. Surprisingly, I love the science wing. Of
Oh, yeah, it was good.
of
I,
the hive.
I hated those plants.
So eerie.
The
creatures.
plants things were they kill you one shot no matter what.
Yeah,
They're
and I didn't
insane.
realize that you
What?
had to burn them to kill them.
Yeah. Yep.
Perma killed them, yeah.
It wasn't until my second playthrough on it.
Yeah.
Or fourth, I think.
Oh
even when
no,
got to that point.
I wasn't until I ran out of ammo and the only thing I had was a flamethrower.
Flamethrower.
And then I realized, and I was like, oh fuck me. I didn't realize that.
So much wasted ammo.
So much
So
wasted
much.
ammo.
I love the hive science facility because it's.
I
I love that in movies. That clean, pristine laboratory
Scientific
environment,
white
and you know it's
labs, yeah.
all bad, empty.
Yeah.
And then I remember when you go in there, you have to go left. You put Sherry because Sherry's infected with the G virus, and that's why William Birkin is after her because Birkin can only reproduce with a perfect specimen, who is his daughter. Mm-hmm. Which is a bit creepy. It's not a
Creepy.
sex thing. It's just
Maybe
a
that's
weird
where
virus
Warm
thing.
Body's got
Sounds of
its
it.
story from.
Yeah, it's not a sex thing. It's a virus thing. All right,
Yeah. Don't be dirty.
but don't be dirty.
Get your
It's a
mind out
weird-
of the sewers.
Yeah, come on. But yeah, I love when you turn
Sewers.
right before you go out into the. You can't go into the actual hive base yet because into that circular room you have to go to the left, and you have a cafeteria. It was all in darkness. And I was shitting myself going in there. I was shitting myself. But of course, then we have our big boss fight. If we skip through everything in the science lab, if anyone has anything to say about it, we fight plants.
No,
I
there's
think
plants, there's puzzles,
I think you covered the sign. I think the best part about
Really,
it was
Raccoon City is the key.
Yeah, the
Or
biggest part,
The
too.
RPD, the police station is the real.
As I
character.
put it, everyone remembers the police station and Kendo's, obviously because it's Kendo's. But like the science lab is just like the end game. You spend time there, but that's it. But it's like, when am I going back? Do you know what the worst thing is as well? Do you know when just before you go to Birkin is when you descend down? You've gotten the medallions. You're leaving the police station, and I was like, oh, is this the last of the police station? But what happened? Like the underground car park and stuff like that. Surely I get to go to that. And they're like, I was like, am I going to the lab already? And they brought me down to William Birkin boss fight, and then you
The
get
steam
out.
room.
Yeah, and then you go back
like
up.
all
But
that.
I was like, I was just in shock, and I was just, give me more police station. What are you doing?
More police. More police station.
Until I beat Birkin, climb up and go back into the car park, and I'm like, yay! They brought me back.
What
There's my favorite because I loved Claire as a character. Claire is to me what Leon is to you, Kyle. I love Claire so much.
Leon.
I love Jill.
She is never more badass than when she's about to go down to fight Birkin for the last time, and she's with Annette, who is Birkin's wife.
Oh,
who is
yeah.
just an awful person.
Yeah,
an
she's a
awful
bitch.
character. Stop it.
Terrible
And,
person.
yeah,
She kind of redeems herself
like,
at the end, but like she's still a bitch.
did she redeem herself?
Not
Did
really, but she kind of
Not
does help
really.
you in a
She
shape.
shot Ada.
Yeah, it's
But you know,
kinda-
Ada again is another thing of like, is Ada a good character? We don't know.
No,
I love it.
I love Ada, but yeah.
I love
But,
Ada,
yeah,
but
Claire-
yeah,
She makes
Claire
Leon
Warfield.
happy, so it makes me happy.
That's true, yeah. So Claire, she takes off her jacket. She's got that cool like tank top. She's all dirty, and then she's a badass. She comes down with a grenade launcher, and William Birkin's there, and she's like, "All right, time to end this." I'm like, "You are an absolute queen," as the kid said these days. And then you beat your final boss, which isn't that hard, really.
No.
It's pretty easy.
Mr. X was a lot harder
Mr.
than
X was
than-
Mr. X was a lot harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah.
I will say,
Birkin was a
if you've ever
pushover.
seen, like, again, this is one of the games that, like, oh God, do I love the modding community? They are just always making shit that just kills me. It is so funny. But the best one I've ever seen, and honestly, I'd recommend watch it just for the person goes through the entire game with this mod. It's just comedy gold, because the mod is that Leon is not Leon. Leon is a zombie. but the dialogue has been changed from Leon's dialogue to just gurgles and zombie noises. So it's fucking brilliant. And the best part about all of it was that intimate scene between Ada and Leon on the train going to the laboratory, and Ada's there talking to him all like, you know, walls are coming down a little bit of vulnerability and such. It's like, oh, you're right, Leon, I think together we could probably do it. And the zombie Leon is just like, it's just brilliant. Because I don't know who voice acted it, maybe just a guy with a microphone changing and whatever and stuff. He like mimics the conversational tone with the zombie voice. So it's all like
Zombie voice.
It's so good. I'll find it after this and send it to you guys, because I was crying laughing watching it. It's so fucking good. Like, there's all these ones where, you know, Mr. X gets changed, Mr. X gets turned into Peter Griffin. You see one with Resident Evil 7. The whole family is the Griffin family from Family Guy. Mr. X changed to Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen.
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Which is another very good one. A lot of them were that, but that was the first one I saw where he just played the whole game as a zombie, and it was fucking brilliant.
That's amazing. But yeah, no, we have our boss fight, and then I remember playing. I played the first playthrough as Claire, and then I got to the end on the train, and you beat Birkin for the final time. It's not really a fight; it's more of a set piece. You shoot a few times and you got him. And then you get onto the you finish the train, and there's a weird scene where like Leon appears on the train, and Claire's like, oh, "Leon, you're here," and the game just cuts the credits. I'm like, "The fuck? That's it? Yep. No way, that's it."
I remember you telling me about that.
I was pissed. I was like, "What?
Yeah,
that's it." And then you learn that you have to play the game again with Leon or Claire, whoever you didn't play as, and then you get the full true ending, which I actually kind of liked in the long run. I was a bit annoyed when it first happened, because I was like, it just finished this torture.
They never did that with the original game. But I remember we were in work and you came in and you were talking about that, and I was like, yeah, the ending's a bit like, you know, abrupt, and you were just like, yeah, have you played the second campaign? And I was like, no, I didn't. I just kind of like took a break for a bit, and then I'll go back and do Claire's. And you were like, yeah, but you get the proper ending when you do Claire.
Get the
proper ending, you say?
I completely, I full intent to go back and clear Claire's campaign, and just didn't. So I rebought it on the Xbox, so I'm gonna go play it again. And I started. So
you haven't seen the full proper ending then?
Leon.
God damn, man.
Yeah, I never finished. Despite the fact that Resident Evil 2 is probably one of my favorite games ever.
Yeah, man.
The remake is probably one of my favorite games ever, and I never cleared it the second time, which I
played all 4 versions of it.
I never cleared the second one either, because I was only given the copy as a loan, and then I moved back to Limerick during the time when we were playing Resident Evil 2. So I'm literally talking about it all now. I still have the save file, so like.
Oh yeah,
all I want to do now, since talking about it, is play this game again.
I was gonna say I will stop now. I was gonna say I will ask you. Was there anything in the game you didn't like? Because no game is perfect. God, is there anything stands out now that you just didn't like? I have one thing that I didn't like. Well, it's not a killer.
Yeah, you go ahead and say.
Okay. So the one thing I didn't like is that when you played the original 1998 game, you have to. There's Claire A, Leon B, Claire B, Leon A. Well, technically it's only the 2. There's whatever. But changes you make in the whole how to describe it. Let me start it again. The 2 storylines you play through are canon. They're canonically the same, linked with each other. And any so there's actually changes in if you play Claire A for example, for your first playthrough, there's ammo and items scattered around that if you don't pick up they will be there for Leon in Leon's version of the campaign. So you have to think tactically about, okay, if I leave this here, Leon can grab that, and so on and so on. So there's a bit of cooperation in the two storylines. I was hoping for that in this one, but they didn't do it at all. Like, the two storylines kind of take place in their own separate bubble.
Yeah.
So, for example, I said Mr. X in Claire's campaign is killed by William Birkin, but then Mr. X shows up perfectly fine in Leon's version of the campaign. So I'm like, okay, is there two Mr. X's, or did that just not happen? And there's one other example that I had in my head that I wanted to say, and now it's gone out of my head, which is typical for me. But I'm sure it will come back to me if I think about it. So yeah, it's just, I really wish they had leaned into that. So now I've heard people say it online. I've had other conversations with people of it. It's like, if they're building a brand new continuity by remaking these games now, which one is the proper?
Yeah.
Now you have to choose. It's not the one. It's now you have to pick one, which is the canonical version, essentially. Because, okay, this is not what I was going to. The one I forgot, but I was saying. So like, Leon fights the blobby Mr. X at the same time that Claire is fighting William Birkin. So which one happens? Which one?
If you think about it, both of them meet Marvin, for instance, in but in the exact same sort of manner.
In the same, exactly.
So obviously they can't. So I think where they're going with it, like, cause to remake the game to make it entirely different, two totally different stories, would have been a massive undertaking. I don't know if they definitely have this weird sort of like almost parallel sort of bubble with the. I definitely think that's true, and a little bit. I wouldn't say confusing so much as it is a little bit. I get where you're coming from. I don't know what word I use for that, but I get where you're coming from. And it is unfortunate in some sense, but I mean, I think what actually happened is going to be like a bit of both. Because there's no way for, like, if Leon, went through and barricaded all these places and killed all the zombies there, why would then, when you do Claire's playthrough, is there any zombies there? Because then also doesn't make any sense. If you want to be that you're leaving ammo for them, then why is it in this realm that ammo is left for me, but apparently the barricade that Leon put isn't, or zombies have somehow all come back in the exact same amount of numbers and the exact same manner. So it's a bit of both worlds there. So which one is canon? Both and neither.
It's kind of in the same vein of, if you play games like Mass Effect, or, well, not so much Mass Effect because that fucked it up with Mass Effect 3. Dragon Age, let's say, for example, that your specific playthrough is your canon. Now, they have a default canon, yes, but it's like they have this kind of, you play it your way, you create your canon. And I think they kind of implement that with the Resident Evil 2 remake. Not like, one was very much, it was more tied together, closely together. This one, it's kind of like, you play Leon one way, and then Claire takes one side, and then the next time, if you pick Claire to follow Leon's path, or vice versa, then Leon takes Claire's path, vice versa, kind of thing. So it's like you're creating your own canon rather than them being like a default canon. Which I can understand your point of view. I do kind of. It's like the changes they made in Resident Evil 3, where it's like, I enjoyed Resident Evil 3. I thought it was good. I thought it was very short. They took out a lot of things that ruined it, essentially, kind of thing. It's kind of,
the 3 remake is, it left an awful lot to be desired.
Yeah, an awful lot to be desired.
But yeah, no, it's just, when you said it there, Kyle, I never thought of that actually. It's like, what if you played the 2 and they did interact, essentially? Wouldn't it have been cool if you're playing your first playthrough, say, as Leon, and you block up certain windows, so those windows will be blocked in Claire's story, so there won't be any zombies. So you have to think tactically about your 2 campaign. Cool. That would have been cool.
It would have been cool, but at the same time, it automatically would make me feel that, like, unless the second playthrough was considerably easier because of that, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense.
True.
Because Leon was the, you
funny.
could say, the vanguard. Whoever you played first is the vanguard, clearing out the huge portion of the Marines, if you want to go by military terms. They're first playthrough is the Marines. They're covering the ground. They're the ones doing most of the first-hand work, and then you have the general army that come then forward. Whoever your second playthrough would effectively be like the army, and they wouldn't have as much of an encounter as the Marines, shall we say. So
which is funny.
Yeah, 'cause
which is
it's
funny
actually-
because it's the opposite in the original game, the 98 game. The second playthrough of your other
always
character
harder.
is way harder.
yeah.
But I think they tried to nail that with the Resident Evil 2 remake, because when you play your second playthrough, you instantly encounter Mr. X. You don't have to go
He's there
through the
from
whole
the
story.
start.
So you have to deal with Mr. X from the straight front. So
Yeah.
I think
From the
that
get-go,
it is that
yeah.
little balance as well to it.
You also
I
start in a
think
different location as well.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah, you do, yeah.
it's a bit of both in terms of what is canon. It is just a
Yeah.
bit of both. Some of them overlap in a way that don't make sense, but you have to little bit of leeway when it comes to that.
You do, yeah. And look, I understand
Look,
completely
with
that
games,
if they
there's
had
always a
done
bit of
that.
leeway with
Yeah.
canon.
Again,
so-
it makes no sense that there's herbs everywhere, and also
Yeah.
how irresponsible are these police officers to be letting ammo just lie around the place?
It also
Yeah, it's-
it also makes no sense to have like all these buildings with puzzles everywhere. You know.
Yeah, that's true as well. Why
Which
does the
is
police station
cleared up.
have
I
It
these
is
do
it
know-
explained. It is explained, but
Yeah.
still, why would you put
yeah.
all these things
Why would
behind
you do that?
puzzles
Yeah.
instead of a
The-
keypad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The police station used to be an old museum.
Yeah,
That's why it
And-
looked like that.
That's cool.
The
It's
same fellow
pretty
who made the police station made the Spencer Manor.
The Arkley, yeah, the
Arkley.
Arkley,
The Spencer
Arkley
Manor
Manson,
in
yeah.
Arkley.
Who was then killed because he made the manor because it was
Yeah.
it was so cool
Yeah.
that Spencer was like, "Yo, I
I don't want you
years
making
ago-
this ever again.
Yeah, years ago, I went down a rabbit hole of weeks of learning every piece of lore about the Resident Evil world. I know I don't know anything about everyone, but back then I knew every piece of lore about, like, because I remember playing 5 and they were like, this is the plant that would eventually become the T-virus. And I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I need to know why. I need to know what this is about. And I researched
love
for
that about
years.
5. I will like. There's a lot of things I don't like about 5, but that I
5 is
will
five is
forever
almost
love.
an origin story. Yeah, 5 is almost an origin story.
Yeah.
And you had
she
the
was,
best
yeah.
boss of all time, Wesker. So
Wesker is a cool character. I do like Wesker.
Wesker is so cool, and I still to this day I want him back.
Yeah.
I don't know how
He's
you get him
dead.
back,
He's
but I want him
dead.
back.
really
Yeah, but people
dead.
have died of Resident Evil before and come back. Aid has died like 17 times.
Yeah, and Wesker's
You know.
died about that many times as well.
Yeah, I was like, I want Wesker. Yeah. Also, there is any of you guys see? There is a very weird Easter egg in the original game in Wesker's desk in the Stars office.
Yeah.
That if you click on his desk, like there's no prompt for it, but if you do it, if you click on his desk 50 times, it will a secret compartment will open. And you will get a Polaroid picture of Rebecca Chambers in like sports gear, which is a bit creepy. And Rebecca Chambers, for anyone who knows, it was like, I think she was like 17.
She's 80 now.
She's 18, and she was in Resident Evil 1 and also Resident Evil 0. And they have that in this one again. It's one of the Polaroids that you can develop, and it's her. And it's like, that's this creepy Wesker. Stop being creepy Wesker.
Wesker's a little creepy anyway. Right, before we ramble on too long, I think we should wrap it up because we've been talking for quite some time.
Literally just about to say that. I was going to say, do any of you guys have anything else left to say about Resident Evil 2? Would you recommend it to anybody?
100%. And I think one of the best things about it is that even if you're not big into the horror games and franchises and things like that, I still think it's a very worthwhile game to get. Because don't feel bad about needing to take breaks from it. Because
No, don't.
Yeah.
we all needed it. And
we
fucking
did.
Kieran needed it. That should give you enough of a...
Yeah.
that it's
so
okay
good.
to take breaks with this game. Which
so
means that's a game that you're going to be holding on to for a while playing through because you take those breaks from it. So even if you're only on it for like half an hour or something like that, don't worry about it. That's fine. It's so worth it. It's great. It's a great game also to play with someone else who's not playing.
Yes.
They're just watching it. That's
Yeah.
fine as well. It's actually brilliant.
Backseat
To
gamer games, like, that's
usually
a rare thing.
backseat gamers are the worst things in the world. Like,
I don't know. I love him.
they're
most-
awful
sometimes.
but like they're awful. They're annoying. Oh, you should do that. Shut the fuck up. I'll do what I want.
Shut up.
But this is such a good game that if you want just people to watch it, you play or take turns even and things like that, it's such a good game for that.
Yeah.
It's almost like a party game in that sense. Because
It is.
you can all just gather around as one person play and you will all be invested in it because it's
And all be
really
terrified.
fucking good.
And I'll be terrified. Yeah.
It's so
I did
good
do.
for that.
I would say I did do that about 6 months after the game came out. I met up with a whole bunch of friends who had not played it, and I was the only one who played it. And we did the thing of let's get pizza and beer and let's pass around the joypad. I didn't
Awesome.
because I played it. But watching everyone be absolutely scared shitless while I'm laughing, they're like, ha 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 ha.
And you know
is
where
great
everything
watching
is
this.
coming as well. It's great.
I remember I pissed my pants at that part.
Yeah, I'm like, haha, I can now not do that.
Here's your complimentary adult diaper. Here you.
Do you know,
Yeah, here you go.
like, kind of that you say that, like, the fact I just rebought that game and I kind of started playing a small bit of it a couple of months ago. I think it was like 2 months ago I bought it. I was kind of playing through it a small bit. I was still terrified knowing exactly what was coming.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was still like running down a hallway away from zombies because I was a little bit to confront them, like, you know.
So over the course of a year, I went through all four, Leon A, B, and Claire A, B, and I was still shitting myself in the
Yeah.
last fourth playthrough of it.
It's a
It's-
scary fucking game.
Yeah, it's a testament to a game well made.
Oh,
Absolutely
big
is.
time.
But anyway, look, we're rambling.
Yeah,
we
we're
should really
rambling.
stop.
Favorite part of the game.
Favorite part of the game?
Quick fire. Favorite part of the game.
I would go the very start of the RPD when you have to go in and find the guy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He gets cut.
So
I would
good.
go with that because that did such a good job of setting the tone.
Yeah.
I know the garage, the petrol station did as well, but this one was like, you're locked in here now. Enjoy this for the next 2 hours. That's me.
Kieran.
I am going to, and I brought it up in kind of earlier on, is the part in the parking lot where you meet the dogs for the first time. Because in Resident Evil games, it tends to be the animals are the worst things, like in one where they have the crows and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
the dogs are always one of the most terrifying enemies in the game because they're so hard to fucking kill because you can't aim at them right.
Can't
they're
aim, they're
very
so hard to
quick.
hit.
Quick
But-
little
yeah.
bastards.
With that, like when you get up into the car park area as Leon, you're there with your, now if you play it the way I did, with your headset, you have the binaural audio on, which is essentially 3D sound. You can hear the placements where they are all around you. You're terrified, you're playing in the dark and you hear like the little clip clap of the dogs with the nails on the ground. Every single thing. It was just a sensory overload experience and it was amazing. I will never forget that section
Yeah.
ever. It was so good.
Yeah. Kyle?
I think it's a bit of a, it's very random, but it was the point that, well, obviously I loved it again, the petrol and the gas station, like that was phenomenal at the beginning, just made you believe so much that this was going to be great. But I think what really hit me in terms of like gave me that first proper like, and I hate jump scares, I really do. They're cheap and I really hate them, but this one was fantastic. Only because, not so because it was a cheap jump scare, but it really made you think like, anytime you feel you're safe, think again. Was the first time you had the zombie break through the glass. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that was such a
We're laughing at him.
massive you're kind of questioning
Oh, God.
yeah you're kind of questioning yourself, is he gonna come through because he's
gonna do
he's
it?
banging at it a bit now, but then I think it was either the corridor to the left was the first time or it was closer to the film room. Either one, I can't remember which one was the first one out, to be honest, but I just remember
It was
seeing
the hallway towards the meeting room.
Okay, so the hallway.
Yeah, it would've been on the left, yeah.
I was because it was on your exactly. It was on your left. So that immediately now made you think not only about the whole ammo thing, which you weren't overly familiar with at that point yet, but that's the one that made you think straight away that just because you can't see the zombies doesn't mean the zombies aren't there. And it just
terrified.
gets you straight away going,
Yeah.
this is a fucking roller coaster of anxiety and fear,
you know-
and it's great.
build up on that point is as well later on after they've broken through the window and you've forgotten about that and you're coming back through the hallway, you're legging it through and a zombie just flops through the window and you're like, oh Jesus,
Like, oh god.
like shit, I should have poured that up.
Yeah.
I will absolutely say is that it's my game of the year for 2019.
Absolutely.
You know, there was some pretty amazing games that came out in that time frame. Death Stranding, Super Smash Brothers, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. But for me, nothing was better than Resident Evil 2 that year.
And the funny thing is the fact that that was a remake and it still beat out on games that were brand new kind of like original content.
That, I think that it just, I was nominated for Game of the Year too, so it goes to show its absolute strength. But with that, I think we're done.
No, I'm
Absolutely. Kyle
has.
I'm so sorry. I have one last thing. This is my favorite bit of trivia from Resident Evil in its entirety. Is that the character was named after the named character of one of my all-time favorite movie, which is Leon the Professional, and he was named after that. And in Leon the Professional, he's protecting a girl called Matilda, and that is the name of his gun. And I absolutely love that. I didn't know that until I played the remaster, and Leon has been my favorite movie for years. And when I read that piece of trivia, I was like, could I love this guy anymore? Could I love this guy anymore? That's my favorite thing ever about it.
It's great. So with that, thank you everyone for listening. If you've managed to stick through it, thank you. You're awesome, and you are getting a gold star. There you go.
Just for you.
So thank you for tuning in. We have been the Ready Up crew, as I start calling us now. The crew.
God, we're so gangster.
Yeah. Gang signs.
What's that?
Tune in next time. Oh, don't forget, we stream every Wednesday, most Wednesday. If we don't, we will let you know on Facebook that we will not be streaming. Be sure to follow us on our Facebook page and that Instagram account that I was supposed to set up about 4 weeks ago. I have not done yet, but I will get to it eventually. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Kieran's going to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Carl's going to say goodbye.
Goodbye now.
See you next week.